Idle hands are the devil's workshop is a quote I've heard. I don't know what from where, but basically what it means is idle hands, so not having anything to do, nothing particularly important you're working on, is the devil's workshop in that it's a state of it's a state where it's easy for you to fall into doing bad habits, wasting time, just doing things that are overall bad for you and probably bad for others as well. And again, I don't know where this quote comes from. Someone can comment that below. But this is a quote that when I heard it, it's kind of changed the way I view life because it's 100% true. When you have nothing you're working on, those are the periods of time where you do the most bad habits and you're the least productive person. You're just the worst person overall. So I'll give you an example because throughout my life, there's been periods where I've had stuff that I'm working on and I've been the opposite of the quote. And then there's parts where I've been exactly what the quote is, where I've had nothing to do. I've had idle hands, so to speak. And that has resulted in me doing bad things. So in the periods of my life where, let's take exercise, for example, in the periods of my life where I'm a little bit sick right now, if you couldn't tell. But in the periods of my life when I've been extremely physically active, so going to the gym maybe 6 times a week, running maybe 4 or 5 times a week, doing like a calisthenics handstand style workout, doing push-ups every single day, basically where I'm doing 2 to 3 forms of exercise almost every single day. Those are the periods where I've just felt extremely happy. And obviously you're going to be sore a lot of the time, but I felt extremely happy. I was extremely productive. I ate healthier as well. It almost like bled into other areas of my life where everything else in my life also kind of fell into place. As soon as I was finished exercising, I felt like eating healthy. I felt like going to sleep instead of staying up and like scrolling or whatever people do. I actually felt like reading, etc., etc., etc. I actually felt like doing good things. The opposite of that would be periods of my life, like for example, a few months ago when I stopped being as productive on YouTube as I would have liked. I stopped making videos as consistently. I don't know if I've talked about this properly, but I realized the kind of videos I was making, although I did enjoy making them sometimes, it wasn't the truly purposeful thing I could have been doing to help people as much as possible. And I started to get self-doubt. I didn't like making those kind of videos anymore. And instead of listening to that and realizing that that was the right thing to do, instead of forcing myself to continue with something I don't particularly enjoy as much talking about, even though like I do enjoy language learning, obviously, I just wasn't enjoying making those kind of videos on only that topic when there were other things I enjoy talking about more that I'm even more knowledgeable about. Instead of listening to that, I continued pushing, and what ended up happening was I burnt out, so to speak. I didn't like doing it as much, and I stopped making those videos, and then everything else kind of derailed a little bit as well. Not a lot, but it bled into other areas of my life. So my exercise was probably worse. I didn't read as much. I didn't make as much progress in other areas of life as well. And so the moral of that little analogy and of this quote is that if you don't have something that you're working on right now, if you don't have clear goals you're working towards, you are going to end up wasting time on things that are bad for your health. Things like junk food, social media is probably the biggest one, short form content, very easy, quick hits of dopamine are generally what you're going to be attracted towards, which is the most common is probably just scrolling on social media. But yeah, if you don't have something very clear that you're working towards, which basically nobody does, I think I'm one of the very few people my age that actually does, what's going to end up happening is you just waste time. You end up doing bad habits. So now that we know this, what is the solution? I've stuck this to my desk, so I can't rip it off the desk and show you. But for me personally, my solution is to have goals and have them in clear sight all the time. So I have goals that I'm working on and I have them stuck to my desk. That works for a lot of people, and I think for the people it doesn't work for, something similar would work for them. Basically, you need something that you are working on at all times. If you're a person and you don't have something that you're working on at any point in your life, you're going to go astray and you're going to start wasting time and doing things that actually lower your self-esteem and make you feel worse as a person. So what can you do to actually find the next stage of what you need to work on? It's a very difficult question, but I think for a lot of people, it's kind of like a triangle where the things that you need to start working on straight away are more similar, and then as you progress further in your life, they become more different. So for example, a lot of people, the first big goal that they might actually set is generally to do with health and fitness or something like that, getting as healthy as possible, starting some kind of exercise because you've been conditioned to think that, you don't need to exercise that much. You only need to exercise once a week. All of that's bullshit. You should be exercising every single day. You can exercise multiple times a day. The idea of like overtraining, if you train more than 3 times a week or exercise more than 3 times a week, is complete nonsense. The only way you can actually overtrain is if you're doing some kind of dangerous exercise, or if you're doing a very, very extreme form of exercise, say very, very intense weightlifting, and you do it more than 7 times a week, and you don't have some kind of what system of recovery. That's like the only 2 ways you can actually overtrain. It's complete nonsense to think that you can't exercise more than 3 times a week or something like that. But anyway, for a lot of people, that is the first stage, just getting into exercise and getting as healthy as possible. It could also be something social. It could also be something to do with learning, like maybe it's reading more, something like that. And then as you knock off that kind of first layer or first 2 layers of what you're supposed to be working on, it might get a bit more how do I put this? It might get a little bit more specific to you. So maybe your path is going down the university route and getting extremely qualified for something along the lines of, you know, being a neurosurgeon or something. Sorry, someone was just driving past really, really slowly and it was very distracting for me. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's making YouTube videos. You see what I mean? How like as you get past that first layer of just getting like very healthy and taking care of your exercise and your self-esteem and that kind of thing, once you go past that more general layer, it gets specific to what you actually want to do as a person. So that's what I recommend right now, as when this video is over. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, and actually journal about the kind of life you want to live and figure out what the first step towards it is. It's probably something health and fitness related, but yeah, and I think the moral overall of this video is to understand that if you don't have something you're working on, which very few people do, to fill that void, you will just start doing bad habits. And I know that's particularly true for me. For some people, that saying is kind of on steroids, in that if they don't have something they're working on, it won't just be bad, it'll be really bad. I know for me, there's another quote, it might be Friedrich Nietzsche that said this, but the quote is, the warlike man, what is it? It's something like, without purpose, the warlike man declares war on himself, which is that without a clear thing to be working on, the warlike man will just attack himself. And obviously that's a bit extreme. I'm not attacking myself, but I think I am one of those people that really, when I have goals, I feel absolutely fantastic and I really try hard to achieve them. When I don't have goals, I feel the complete opposite. Some people might be more neutral, where it's only a little bit bad if they don't have goals, and it's like pretty good if they have goals. I'm a very extreme person. You might be like that too, or you might not be. That's fine. But yeah, the takeaway is just to make sure you do have something you're working on, or you're going to fill your time with dumb stuff that makes you feel bad. And if you are filling your time at the moment with bad habits like junk food, not exercising, procrastinating on stuff, you don't read, you're not intelligent, anything like that, that is probably because you don't have anything in particular you're working on. So just something to bear in mind. Hit the subscribe button. I've got my ebook coming very shortly, which I think a lot of you will enjoy. And if you have any questions, comment below. Happy to jump on call with anyone for free as well at the moment. Just add me on Instagram. We can talk about that. But that is the video, and thank you for watching.